If you've ever played a Persona game, you've noticed a common theme with the social links/confidants. They're all represented by a tarot card. And while this may seem like a fun way to differentiate the characters and group the personas into various categories, Atlus deliberately chose these cards as a representation of each character. Diving into the Fool's Journey and tarot cards, we can understand how Atlus uses that to guide each character. But for today, I'd like to just quickly go over the origin of tarot cards, as well as a quick synopsis of the Fool's Journey to use as a reference point for deeper dives into the corresponding major arcana. I'm Ouroboros. Let's talk. Tarot cards originated as a deck of playing cards in Europe around the 15th century. At first, they were not used for anything other than playing games. There were various decks used for different games like Austrian Königsrufen and the aptly named French Tarot. Realistically, tarot cards were nothing more than ordinary playing cards that you or I might buy at a gas station or convenience store. However, starting in the 18th century, French occultists started to falsely extrapolate meaning behind these cards. This led to the creation of a new type of tarot deck, the one that is more commonly known now. Most people don't play games with tarot decks anymore. I mean, at least I've never seen anyone playing euchre with a pack of these babies. Well, at least I don't think so. I don't actually know how to play euchre. But that's besides the point. Of course, there are many similarities between the playing tarot card decks and traditional playing cards. But the main focus of this video, obviously, is about the tarot deck that's used in fortune-telling, divination, and cartomancy. It's important to keep in mind that there are a variety of decks used for these purposes. But considering that this series will focus on Persona 3, 4, and 5, I will be focusing on the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. It's not completely consistent throughout the series. There's some crossover here and there with other decks, especially once you start factoring in DLC characters and whatnot, but at least for what I've found, the names of the cards line up the most with this deck. It also seems to be one of the more well-known decks, so let's get started. Each of the major arcana, those are the kind of big, important cards in each deck, represent the Fool's Journey. It's representative of a person's trek through, well, life, basically. It doesn't necessarily have to be through your whole life, but can also represent overcoming some type of struggle. And of course, we start off our deck with the Fool. The Fool can either be unnumbered or numbered as 0. The Fool is the start of the journey, the beginning of our story. It represents all of us in a wonderfully optimistic, naive way, almost like a baby who has not yet seen the cruelties of the world. This card kind of exists in a weird place outside of the major arcana. It's numbered as 0 to show that we can take two paths in life, one towards the positive, and the other towards the negative. Upon leaving, the Fool encounters two very important allies, the Magician and the High Priestess. They act as a bit of a balancing act. The Magician is more about the conscious act of attaining one's goals. He shows the Fool what tools he needs to carve out his own path. On the other hand, the High Priestess is more about understanding the world in which the Fool is trying to shape. She brings about understanding the potential within ourselves and understanding our inner self. So while one focuses on the physical world, the other focuses on the spiritual world. After meeting his two friends, the Fool encounters his two parents, the Empress and the Emperor. The former is representative of maternity, and the latter of paternity. The Empress also shows the Fool how to reconnect with Mother Earth and allows him to embrace her warmth and spark his curiosity. The Emperor, on the other hand, does not partake in this nurturing facade, but instead enforces rules, regulations, authority, and structure. He teaches the Fool that there is a system of order in this world, and, although frustrating at times, you must learn to appreciate tradition. Next is the Hierophant. The Hierophant is a teacher or mentor to the Fool, one who is well versed in the mysteries of life. Whether it's religion or another belief system, he helps guide the Fool to his next goal, the Lovers. At this point, the Fool was mostly concerned with himself, but now he must face the fact that he must become one half of a whole. He must determine his own beliefs and find balance between his inner masculinity and femininity. The Fool has now come a long way in life, and he rides the chariot to victory. He commands respect, and this is a great victory in life, but it is short-lived. However, Before I move on to the rest of the Fool's Journey, some decks switch the position of the Justice and Strength Arcana. It depends on which deck you get, but considering Persona uses the Justice as the 8th Arcana and the Strength as the 11th, I'm gonna go with that. With that side tangent out of the way, back to the journey. After riding the chariot to victory, he must decide how to act. He learns how to discern right from wrong and understand that his actions have consequences. And so, we get the Hermit. He must look inward and become introspective. That solitude gives him time to understand both himself and the world around him. By withdrawing and taking time to think, the Fool realizes that everything is connected by the wheel of fortune. Fate may play out good or bad, but everyone is subject to the wheel. He has now found the strength within himself to move forward. And while you may think of it as physical strength, it also is one of self-control and passion. However, he finds himself in a precarious situation, unable to achieve his goals. And so, the Hanged Man must let go and accept that sometimes there are things that even he may not overcome. He experiences a spiritual death. His ego has been utterly defeated. His old self is now gone. Bad habits are broken down, and he begins life anew. Death may end, but there is always a new beginning following it. And that rebirth takes the form of temperance. After experiencing so many things, the Fool comes to appreciate the harmony in life. It is representative of a newfound inner balance. A man of such high esteem and virtue is of course tempted by the devil. The devil allures him with material value and tests his inner growth. The tower, often seen collapsing, is another way of showing the Fool's values falling apart. It feels that sometimes outside forces make the biggest impact on our lives. Unfortunately, they are often the things that shake us up the most and send us tumbling down. But even in the biggest falls, there lies hope. And that glimmer is the hope of the star. That beacon in the darkness provides the Fool with a sense of serenity. It's the light at the end of the tunnel and inspires him to accept himself for who he truly is. Unfortunately, it is contrasted by the moon, a reminder of the grim and unbearable parts of ourselves. It's the fear that can lead the Fool to doubt himself, despite all the progress he's made over his life. At the end of that long tunnel from star to moon is the sun. A true achievement of personal growth shines through. His renewed sense of self-enlightenment carries him forth like a child assured of himself. At the end of that path, the Fool must look back and make a judgment on what he has gone through and what he has accomplished. There's no place for facades or masks. His judgment sees all, clear as day. Finally, we arrive at the world or universe. The Fool has completed his journey and fully accepted and incorporated both good and bad aspects of himself. With this journey completed, the cycle begins anew with another. That is the Fool's Journey. I'd like to do separate videos on each of the major arcana as they relate to specific characters, but I felt it was important to preface the series with this video. It's only a quick rundown of the Fool's Journey. I only wrote a few sentences of each of the cards, but we can use this as a foundation to help guide discussions about specific characters as they relate to these themes. I hope you all look forward to the more in-depth discussions about certain characters. Thanks for watching.